Good evening and welcome to Mr. Wilson Live. We are streaming from Kingston, Jamaica in the Caribbean, and we're covering biology and human and social biology to satisfy the need of the CXC CSEC syllabus here in the Caribbean. It is another Sunday evening, and most persons would be getting ready for the show as we were preparing to have a show earlier, but we did not. Instead, what we did was to send some papers that we worked. A couple of persons asked, why were the papers so short? And we said that what we're doing is shorty. We're pretty much trying to target some areas, some questions that we think that you would probably overlook. We tried to target those questions and we sent out those, I think, two 2015 questions. One was on the housefly. Now, it's very important to note that these papers that we would have sent out earlier, while they are saying HSB 2015, these questions are pertinent to the bio students as well, because on the biology syllabus, you are going to find housefly and mosquito as they are on the human and social biology syllabus. So you want to follow that. We're going to be putting up some short videos. I'm going to try to see if I can put up at least two per day. I'll try my best, and this is not so much a promise. I'm going to try to get them up. So we did two today. I think I have another I'll be sending out after the show. So we have things planned. Now, based on our estimation, if all things go well, by next week, Sunday, we should complete pollution. Today, we are doing AIDS, and we're going to have a short show between Monday and Wednesday on hepatitis. We really didn't want to mix AIDS and hepatitis because we really don't want any confusion. One of the things is that AIDS is a very big topic on both of the syllabus, both for biology and HSB. So we wanted to ensure that we're not causing any confusion in passing the information on. Now, as usual, we're going to require your participation for this class to be a success. Another thing I need to tell you is that you need to probably arm yourself if you have this paper with the 2014 May June Human and Social Biology paper. We're going to be using that paper for our summative assessment and probably the formative assessment as well to look at AIDS. We're going to be looking at that question that is on AIDS. I think it is section B, question one, it could be, I don't remember, but we're going to be looking at that question. Now, in our last show, we spent a whole lot of time looking at venereal disease versus non-venereal disease. Now, having gone through that in that show, today we are going to use that knowledge to answer a question from the 2014 paper 2, Human and Social Biology. I was also asked to look at graphs, and I've been looking at the graphs on the paper, and I'm going to be realistically teaching the graph when I put up the past paper. So I'm going to be teaching graph when I put up each past paper. The first one I think we're going to be putting up by tomorrow is the population, human population. We call it population pyramid, but it's a graph really. So we're going to be looking at that. So good evening again, and welcome to the show. If you realize I have my co-host here, this evening apparently he's not going anywhere. He wants to be a part of the show and probably he'll be teaching. I'm not too sure how soon he'll chip in with what he has to say. But he just got up and wanted to be a part of the show, so he's here with me. All right, so I've said a lot, so let me look at what is happening here and just let me say good evening to everyone while we up on into the show. So first, I'm going to say good evening to those persons who are in distant land. They are not yet subscribers, so we are still waiting on you to come on over to be a part of the big family. Please remember that you should like, you should share, of course, you should subscribe. And when you subscribe, click that notification bell and select all. That is the only way you are going to be among the first persons to know when we send out one of those shorty in the morning. Because the short is about 8 to 15 minutes, just enough for you, just the right bite size for you to get in the morning before you leave out for school or work. All right, so we're sending out a shorty. A shorty is really just one question answered. We'll tell you what your paper, and that is enough for you to study for the morning. All right. So, Macmillan, I saw you out of the block very early. Good evening. De Sousa, I saw you as well. Powell is here. Good evening. Marshall is also here. I'm realizing that Gray is also here. Good evening. I am seeing Jay. Good evening to you. Hill is also here. Taylor is also here. Khan is also here. And Powell is also here. If there's anybody new, just raise your hand so that we can give you special recognition before we up on into the show. That's all that we need now to start, for you to identify yourself that I am new, and we give you that recognition, and then we up right into the show. While we wait on those new persons to say, I am new, I'm here for the first time, remember to like, remember to share, remember to subscribe. So we are, okay, good evening. So we are here. Shakila, hi, how you doing? So we're going to be looking at STI, sexually transmitted infection, and some persons sometimes call it sexually transmitted disease. But that's what we really want to spend the time on this evening. What I want to know, and this is going to be a discussion between us as we move on into the show. How are these infections spread? How is it that the pathogen move from one person to another? Just tell me in the comment there how you think is whatever the sexually transmitted infection it is or disease it is, tell me how it spreads. Just share with me in the chat. I'm waiting on you. All right, great. So we have been looking at a lot and really, really wonderful. We realize that we should be out of the woods within another 2 weeks. I still remember that persons want me to go over genetics, but I'll be looking at genetics when after pollution, when we go to the future. That's a part of your textbook probably says the future, where we're going to be looking at biotechnology and all of that. I'm going to be tying everything in genetics in that chapter, including Down syndrome and the 3 types of Down syndrome. We're going to be looking at that. All right, great. So the answers are in that these infections, they are spread by intercourse, body fluid. Those are pretty much, good evening. Those are pretty much just 2 answers I would have received so far. So one of the main reasons, or one of those driving force behind the spread of STI in the Caribbean, is pretty much our moral standard. It sounds away, but pretty much our moral standards. So we have many persons in the Caribbean who are they really don't believe in monogamy, right? So they are really practicing unhealthy sexual lifestyle, and as such, that would have contributed to the spread of the pathogen. Another thing is that we are taking part in unprotected sex, right? So persons are not using a condom to protect themselves, and in some cases, persons are really casual with this sexual experience. Just some trivial, you just know somebody recently, there's no checks, there's no balance, and before you know, whatever happens, and you have a life of misery to take care of. Another important thing that could be responsible for the increase in STI in the Caribbean is the presence of contraceptive pills. No, because we're using contraceptive pills, persons are not thinking about STI. Persons are more thinking about pregnancy. Now, as we take our eyes or our focus off STI and just think about pregnancy, we could be exposing ourselves to STIs. So, our problem with STI might be driven by 3 major factors. One, our moral standard, what we believe in, how we live our lives. 2, the unprotected sex that we're a part of. And 3, the use of contraceptive pill and not thinking about the sexually transmitted diseases that are associated with that practice. Now, how are we going to control these STI? This is a very good question. Now, most persons will say abstinence, stay away. But I will ask, is this a real practice unless you are like locked up alone? I don't know. For me, I'm always asking the question, do you walk in the rain and not get wet? Do you put butter in the sun and it doesn't melt? I don't know. But it is always said in a lot of books that you should abstain. Now, if you have that discipline, I strongly suggest that you do that as well. However, if we are going to curtail this problem with STI, we must change our thought process. We must look at morality. What is right? What is wrong? We must engage in a responsible sexual lifestyle, which include, but not limited to, the use of condom. And of course, when we are using condoms, they are supposed to be properly worn. It's also important, and I must emphasize it, moral standards, moral standards, moral standards, moral standards. I'll swing away from the lesson a little bit just to talk about things when we talk about moral standard, because there are times that we think that we are also perfect, and when we are sliding, we really don't even realize. So here it is that Mr. Wilson is thinking that, hey, my partner is not so faithful. Now, in order to justify the fact that my partner is not faithful, or I'm going to attack my partner, you know what I do? Tell me if it is smart. In secret, I commit myself the way I think my partner is committing herself. And then what happens? There we have a new can of worm being opened, the moral value, the moral decay. So I think that she's doing that. She might not be doing it. But what I know is that I am doing it now, and we would have exposed the family to misery, pretty much like drugs. Pretty much like drugs. So you tell me in the chat, is it a wise idea if you think that your significant other, if you have or when you have, if they commit themselves, if you are supposed to commit yourself in order to get even? And when I say commit yourself, you know what we're talking about. We really can't spell out everything on the internet here, but you know what I'm talking about. But do you think it is a just practice? Do you think it is fair to you? I am not thinking about your partner because your partner don't know. So what you don't know won't affect you. So is it justice for you? Does it make any sense? No, it doesn't make any sense. Great. So upon the moral standard, we must form a pillow. Upon condoms, we must also build a tower. Up on contraceptive pill, we must think before we act. Because most persons are saying, oh, I don't have a condom, but that's fine. I can take the emergency contraceptive after. All right? So we're going to move away from that and be a little more responsible in our execution. I want to talk about, and that was just talking generally about STI. Now I want to talk about, it's a stupid move. I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm going to talk about something that is dear to me, and you would have heard me talking about this sometime before. I'm going to talk a little bit about cervical cancer. Cervical cancer. If I've ever seen somebody sick, and it would have brought me to my knees, it is to see a woman suffering from cervical cancer. It is a painful ordeal, and it's like you're paying for the sin of the world because you know that you are just counting down the amount of days you have left to go to Medaris or Dovecut or wherever is that burial place, the family plot. So before you get there, you have to go through the sufferation of the pain, the fatigue, the broken home, children falling out of school, all because of our moral standard, probably, or because we trust too much. Cervical cancer is associated with the virus we call HPV. It's called a human papilloma virus. The sad thing about this virus is that when the male, in most cases, which are the carrier, when they have the disease, in most cases, they are not even aware. And they will pass this disease on to a woman, not being aware, and then this woman has a life sentence that she has to deal with. And that is why this concept of the emergency contraceptive, we have to revisit it. Or else what we'll be doing is, of course, stopping pregnancy, but yet we'll have some more issue to deal with that is even that has greater impact. So cervical cancer affects women. It is thought to be caused by the human papilloma virus. However, if you receive early treatment, as it were, with any of these STI, you could be in a position to overcome. There is a campaign, I know, with a couple of governments in the Caribbean to try to vaccinate girls before they reach the age of 21 in order to protect them from this HPV, which will later lead to cervical cancer. I suggest to my ladies in the room, I suggest to my gentlemen in the room, it is a conversation worth having with your medical practitioner. Find out where you are. Find out what you need to do. Don't wait until you get to that point of saying, I wish I'd known earlier. The human and social biology syllabus, as it were, from the CXC, is designed to treat with the ills of the Caribbean. It is for this reason why we could have seen COVID on the paper this year. It is for this reason when we have a hurricane and we have animals getting away from that place in Portland, it was on the exam paper. And it is for this reason why we could see on the paper a volcano from St. Vincent with air pollution. That's a possibility for the paper, right? So pay attention to what is in the book. Our government, they really want to protect us. If they fail to, it could mean disaster for the Caribbean, as we're going to see as we move deeper into today's lesson. So the effect of STI on mother and fetus was something that we should have covered in our last class. Sad to say, bacteria that is associated with gonorrhea and syphilis, they can cross the placenta. So it means that if you're a woman, I hope that there's no minor watching this show because it's a Caribbean show and I will use the language on the road to teach the content. So you could be a woman that is pregnant and for some unknown reason, God forbid, you go and commit yourself outside of the commitment that you already have. And guess what? You become infected. You could pass this STI on to the unborn that is within you. Is it worth it? A minute of pleasure for a lifetime of pain? So these pathogens, they can cross the placenta. They will, of course, affect the fetus. And in most cases, the baby will be born dead. Dead. It is what we call stillbirth. Mr. Wilson is in no way saying that if a woman has a stillbirth, it is because of a STI. I don't have the authority to say that, and I'm not saying that. But I'm, of course, saying that with a STI, a woman could find herself having a stillborn if she's infected? That's a very good question. I touched bacteria, and if it's a bacteria, then it can go across. And I'm going to touch virus, and if it's a virus, it can go across as well. So let us move right. What else is there? Bacteria and virus is pretty much the biggest one for us to look at, and look at the STI and see, look at the ones that are caused by bacteria versus those that are caused by virus, and then your question will be easily answered. But we're going to touch that in the show. All right, great. Now, there are some babies or some women who are infected with the STI, and they might give birth. And if they do give birth to a child that is alive, the likelihood of that child having some defect, more so eye defect, is a real and great possibility. Let us say, thanks to modern healthcare, that when the baby is born, they have medication to place in the eyes of the baby. And if you were going to maternity clinic, a whole lot of these problems would have been sorted out. So as it were for STI and the fetus or the unborn and the mother, I hasten to encourage us all, both male and female. When we conceive, we should be a part of a maternity clinic. Deform, of course, yes. Complication, yes. That's possible. Yes, that's possible. I do agree with you. Now, HIV can also cross the placenta. And go over there and affect the fetus. So I know the big question is coming now, but there are many babies that would have been born and they are not affected. I'll treat with that too. Virus, the HIV virus in particular, can be transferred by the breast milk from the mother to the baby. So you will agree with me that it is very important when we become pregnant, and I say we, because it's a family experience, it's a male and female thing. So when we become pregnant, we should be a part of a maternity clinic. Let's dive on into AIDS. And today's class with AIDS, it will open your eyes to some facts, and it will, of course, get rid of some myths. The first thing I want to look at, I want you to tell me in the chat, AIDS, HIV, are they the same thing? AIDS, HIV, is it the same thing? Tell me in the chat. Nah. All right. Powell is saying no. Anybody else? HIV and AIDS, are they the same thing? We are now in the meat of today's class, you know. Yes, we are doing disease. Hi. HIV, and this is the last class on, no, we have one more class on disease, which is going to be about 15 or half. We are going to look at hepatitis. That's the last disease that we have to look at. But we have looked at all the others. Oh, so some persons are saying yes, some persons are saying no. No, they are not the same. No, they are not the same. Okay, HIV leads to AIDS. Interesting. All right. For the CXC topic, can we run? Okay, then. Not too sure what you're saying there. No, it's not. Okay, HIV leads to AIDS, which is the final stage. Okay, great. All right. No. Okay, HIV leads to AIDS. All right, great. So for the greater part, most persons understand that HIV and AIDS is not the same thing. All right, great. So we can move right into the lesson. So AIDS, which stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. It is caused by human immune deficiency virus. Human immune deficiency virus, that is HIV. So AIDS, as my students would have rightly said, it is caused by the virus HIV. Very good. But what happens here really? Let me tell you. HIV will of course be attracted to some cells we call T lymphocytes. And they will attack these cells and destroy them. All right, I'll pause to see what Powell is saying here. HIV stands for, okay, great. All right, so the HIV will of course destroy the T lymphocytes, right? Thus weakening the response, the immune response system of the body. So once the HIV would have attacked the T cells, then your response, your defense mechanism, your immune system will be weakened. I'm not too sure what's happening now. That seems to be a car. I really don't know. You might have to give me a few to go and check that out, because if I don't check it out, YouTube will check it out. Oh, wow. Him say, no, Mr. Scott, man. Said that he wasn't playing, he was checking on something. I'm not too sure what he was checking on, but he was checking on something. All right, I am very sorry. It happens every now and then. I'm not too sure what was happening, but seems as if he was enjoying himself. That has been resolved. All right, I'm back. I'm good. All right, so the last thing we're talking about AIDS and the difference between AIDS and HIV. Now, what we want to look at is pretty much what happens when a person is, of course, infected. All right. So when a person would have acquired the HIV, then what is likely to happen is that the immune system will be weakened. Now, once the immune system is weakened, then naturally you are going to be susceptible to other form of disease. So you will now be exposed to bacterial infection. You might even get to a state where you have dementia. You might get to a state where you have weight loss. And of course, you could be exposed to other types of infection. Now, what I want you to tell me from what you would have studied or what you would have known, what are some of the things that happens when a person is suffering from AIDS, or should I say HIV? What is likely to happen to that person who is infected by the HIV virus? What is likely to happen? Tell me in the chat there. All right. That's why people with HIV mainly die from pneumonia. All right. That's pretty much where we're going now. That's where we're going now. All right. Yes, the person will lose weight. What else is likely to happen? Well, naturally, if there is anything foreign that enters the body, then the temperature will go up. That's a part of the immune response. The immune system will become weak, and of course, loss of weight. The person will sick a lot, fall sick a lot, because the immune system is compromised. So just about everything that passes by will, of course, up on your train, and that is, of course, going to slow down the movement of the train. Flu-like symptoms. Yeah, you're going to have flu-like symptoms. You will have fever. You will have a rash. Anything that passes by. You might have some sore lesion on the skin, ulcers on the skin. You might feel weakened. That is possible. The skin will have rash. Yes. Susceptible to illness like tuberculosis, poor immune system, skin rash, night sweat, vomiting, diarrhea, weakness, diarrhea, oral thrush in mouth, fever, rashes, hair loss, skin deflates, oral thrush, loss of weight, and the list goes on and on and on. But what I'm liking here is the fact that you already have the answers for some questions that were asked on the 2014 paper. Now, AIDS is this funny disease that eventually it doesn't really kill you. AIDS doesn't do that. What it does, as we said earlier, is that it weakens the immune system, and then it causes what we refer to as opportunistic infection. You want to remember that. Opportunistic infection are those infections that will cause your life when you are affected by AIDS. Now, some of these opportunistic infection would include, as I think somebody said, I don't remember who said it, probably Amoy, pneumonia, tuberculosis, and cancer. These are opportunistic diseases that will, of course, cause your death if you are suffering from AIDS. So I like to say it is as if these little pneumonia and tuberculosis and cancer, it is as if they are the smaller brothers, right? And then AIDS is this big brother. So what AIDS does, AIDS come out and AIDS beat up that person real bad, and the person get like weak and all compromised. And then little brother just finish the job, because little brother couldn't do it by him or her by himself. So of course, big brother start the work, and then of course little brother finish the job. So AIDS in itself doesn't really kill. It weakens the immune system and make way for other diseases to take you out. Now, how does the virus work? A very smart virus, I think it is. I remember that virus, they are not really organisms, so to speak. They can only exist when they are in the host. So the virus will bind to what we refer to as the T lymphocyte. Once it would have gone into the blood, and it would have entered your blood by you being exposed to blood that is infected, whether it was through sex, or whether it was through an injection needle, or whether it was through blood transfusion, but whether you went to the dentist, whatever method that you acquired that infection, what will happen is that once it gets into the blood, it is going to bind itself to the T lymphocyte, right? So it's going to bind itself to the T lymphocyte receptor, and then it is going to enter the cell, and it is going to shed its coat. Now, having shared its code, this is a very important thing coming up. The RNA of that virus will then enter the nucleus of that cell. Then it will join with the DNA there. And when it joins with the DNA, some other things are likely to happen. It may then replicate, multiply, forming more, and then attach itself to other lymphocytes or the macrophage. But hold one bit. We touched two things in all we said just now. I'm going to ask to see if you have any knowledge on that. Why is this AIDS HIV thing a retrovirus? Why is HIV a retrovirus? Anybody can tell me? Why is HIV a retrovirus? Why is HIV a retrovirus? So it's referred to as a retrovirus, but why is it a retrovirus? Remember last week we had a long class around venereal and non-venereal. And as you prepare to answer that question, is AIDS a venereal disease or a non-venereal disease? Mr. Wilson, where you going this evening again, man? It's too early for that now, because it uses MA information. Or is that R? Should it be RNA? All right, give me some more on that, Campbell. I like where you're going. Powell, a person can have HIV without developing AIDS, but it is not possible to have AIDS without first having HIV. That is true, Powell. Yes, that is true. That is true. All right, RNA. But what about RNA? Where you going with that? Let me see if you know what you're saying. I want you to give me properly. It lives inside the host. I don't know. All right, never mind. You'll know. That's why you're here. The human immunodeficiency virus, AIDS, is called a retrovirus because the RNA genome transcribe or copy back into the DNA in the host cell. So there we have it. Powell, you're spot on. So it uses the RNA to, of course, make DNA. All right? And this happens in the host. Very important thing to note there. I'll cover a bit more on that as we go through the lesson. All right. So another thing I want you to answer now is whether AIDS is a venereal disease or a non-venereal disease. That's very, very important for us to know, because remember, we spent a whole lot of time in the last class. Person said that, but Mr. Wilson, I said it and you didn't even accept. And I said, well, you weren't even sure. All right, it can be both. Interesting. Interesting. I want you to explain to me why it can be both. All right. All right, so Melbourne is saying yes, it is both. All right, so that is going to take me to another level. Why is it both? Because if it is both, then you are going to say your explanation that will follow is that all non-venereal disease are venereal disease. And if that is going to be your explanation, then why do we have a group that says it is non-venereal? So we're treating this like a multiple choice question now. This is like a binomial. Tell me whether AIDS is venereal or non-venereal. All right, we have to go back to this whole idea of what is venereal versus non-venereal. And I think the whole concept of non is giving us a problem. So I'm not too sure what Campbell is saying there. You said, let me just show what you said. All right. Everybody is saying both. And if you are saying both, it suggests to me that you're still not clear on the concept of non-venereal, because it can be transmitted sexually or not sexually. All right. So what does it not mean? Or none? I think that we're hung up on that. I think we're hung up on that. I think a lot of persons are still not clear on non-venereal, because persons are interpreting none to mean not. All right. It is non-venereal because it can only happen when that person should be come into contact with, and not too sure, Paul, check that again. All right, I think none. All right, great. So, De Souza, you have something here that is going somewhere. I want you to tell me why is it that you think that it is non-venereal? Why do you think that AIDS is non-venereal? Right? Because based on what I'm seeing here, persons are still not clear as to what non-venereal is. We're still not there. We're still not there. I am not satisfied that you really understand the difference between venereal and non-venereal. Great. So Amoy's answer is spot on. Right? So remember that we're not using none to mean not. We're not using none here to mean not. All right? HIV is venereal, or AIDS is venereal because it can, no, Powell, based on what a venereal virus is, it happens when comes in contact with a. I see you have unaffected person. I don't know if I understand the unaffected. That is what I believe. Oh, believe. Oh, no, let us move away from belief into facts. I think it is non-venereal. Oh, don't think, because we armed you with the information in the last class. All right, non-venereal. All right, tell you what. I don't need to keep going non-venereal and giving you all trouble. Look at what Amoy Lawrence wrote. Look at what Amoy Lawrence wrote. Just scroll up and look at what Amoy Lawrence wrote. All right. So it is nice to say. I don't know that it can be said any other way. Non-venereal disease. I'll just look at what she said. I'll read it for you. Amoy Lawrence said non-venereal. AIDS is non-venereal because it can be transmitted other than sexual contact. All right. So with a venereal disease, usually it is transmitted by sexual contact. With a non-venereal disease, it is transmitted by sexual contact, but it can also be transmitted by other means. That's all that there is, not a none. The none doesn't mean that it's not sex. That's not what it means. And by virtue of persons are saying that it is both, it suggests to us that you don't understand the concept of non-venereal. Non-venereal means, as Amoy rightly said, non-venereal because it can be transmitted other than sexual contact or sexual intercourse. All right? If it is venereal, then it is transmitted by sexual intercourse. If it is non-venereal, then it can be transmitted by sexual intercourse or other method, injection, needle, blood transfusion, you name it. Other methods can transfer or transmit the virus. Are we clear on that? Any clearer? Yes, no? Maybe so? Tell me, are we good with that? Okay, great. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. That's why you're here today, right? You're not going to be here every day, so we're really grateful that you're here. All right. So we looked at how it worked just now. And now we are going to be looking at the infection. To become infected, it is usually by sexual intercourse. That is one way. That is one way. Now, we could also become infected by, I like to say, exchange of blood, right? So if there's an ulcer or there's any tear in the skin or anything like that, rupture of the skin, that type of thing, and blood is exchanged, then you could acquire the AIDS. Now, you could also acquire the AIDS by nice blood transfusion, depending on which country you are in, though, and what the healthcare system is like. You could also acquire the infection by the use of shared needle. So you're taking drugs and you want that eye feeling and you're with your group and you're sharing the needle because you're thinking that everybody's fine. All we're doing, we're just taking some coke or taking whatever it is, and we'll be fine. And of course, it is spread that way. Sir, can you get HIV from you guys have never seen me laugh before. I'm very sorry. I really have to laugh. I really, really have to laugh. Forgive me, guys. I really have to laugh. But I'm going to show you the question, and I'm not laughing at you, now. I'm not laughing at you. I just find what you say. It's really funny to me. Sorry, and I am going to be sharing it with the group. So just give me a minute and just let me look at these, and then I'm going to share it. I've never ever heard that question in all my life, in all my years of teaching. I've never heard it, but I think I like it, and I'm going to be asking the group because I don't even know if I can answer it. So just give me a second. Exchange of body fluid. Uh, All right, great. So I am breastfeeding. Yes, of course you could get it from breastfeeding, sharing needles, venereal disease, syphilis, gonorrhea. All right, those are some examples, but we want you to know the examples and be able to treat with them. Before I share that which caused me to laugh just now, I want us to just go back to that which we are looking at now, because this is a prime example to drive home what we want to drive home. And what we want to drive home now is the whole concept of uh, venereal versus non-venereal. Now, if it is non-venereal, it is not only spread by sex, but if it is venereal, it is spread by sex. Now, there's no reason for you to say both, because once you say both, then automatically it falls into non-venereal. So you want to make sure that you understand that bit, because you're going to be seeing it on the exam. And then another thing here is that they gave you some examples in the book, so you want to make sure that you know them. I know that everybody wants to see why I'm laughing. I know all of you want to see why I'm laughing. And I am going to show you now, and tell me if you are going to laugh. The question is, sir, can you get AIDS from masturbation? So you answer the question. You saw the question. He's asking, sir, can you get HIV from masturbating? I want somebody to answer. I want everybody to answer. This is a provocative question. It's a question that I like. It tends to come with a little humor, but it's a real good, nice, clean question. Like I usually say to my girls, it is not the penis that gets a woman pregnant. True or false? Is it the penis that gets a woman pregnant? All right, some person said no. And that's why I like this question. All right, I'm not too sure what the no is for. Let us treat with the masturbation and then we will get to the penis part. All right? Seriously? No, Campbell, don't say seriously. Don't say seriously. I don't want you to go there and use those type of language because we're not laughing at him. I personally like the question. No way, lol. Sir, I laugh when I heard. But no, you can't. Really? All right, let us see. No, sir, lol. All right, I know that everybody is going to laugh. And I think I like your question. I think I really like the question. And on a more serious note, to answer this question, all right, depends. All right, we're going to go with Amoy because this is really, really something to answer. Amoy, I like that question. And I'm going to leave it in Amoy's hand and then I'm going to get back to it. Why I like this question, you see, I started out talking about STIs and I was talking about condom. But condom does not protect you from all STI. And I'm not even talking about the condom being burst, right? And just before Amoy answer this question for us or share with us, let me see what you. No, you can't get HIV from masturbation. We don't know as yet, but we are going to explore that. Everybody is saying no, you know. The only person that is on the fence is Amoy. And Amoy, I am on the fence as well. And I'm going to be giving my point in this debate. And then if you guys don't take my side, or if you don't believe, it's fine. It's fine. You don't have to take my side. But I am on Amoy's side. Today I am on Amoy's side. No, because the person hasn't contact with any bodily fluid. The person did not say whether or not there was bodily fluid. The person just said masturbation. Are you suggesting that with masturbation there is no bodily fluid? That's an assumption. That is an assumption. And it is, thank you very much. Where is my friend that asked a question? Thank you very much for that question. Provocative it is, but a very good question. It is a type of question that I would ask my students, as I usually say to my girls, it is not the penis that gets a woman pregnant. Yes or no? Let us deal with the penis part and get back to this. Is it the penis that gets anybody pregnant? Yes or no? All right, great. No. So it is not the penis that get a woman pregnant. Most persons are. Well, I'm not even going down the road with you. I want everybody to say we're having a conversation here. All right. Some person start all call out somebody. Mine you get natural. Mine sperm sue you. Mine sperm sue you. Oh, you must say that about sperms. So persons are saying no. It is not the penis that get you pregnant. It is actually the sperms. It is not the penis that get you pregnant. It is actually the sperms. So the question will be asked, can a woman get pregnant if she doesn't have sex? Yes or no? Can a woman get pregnant if she doesn't have sex? Or not understanding? Angel, you have to tell us what you don't understand. Sometimes the reasons are little I know. Because this is a real class, it's a real life class. So persons are allowed to ask whatever they want to ask, and we have to find a way and solve it. So if you're not understanding, just say it and somebody in the class will assist you. If not me, there are a lot of senior students here, and they are not going to be laughing at you or anything. Don't think that we're laughing at that individual. It's that we all found that question really, really funny. It's not that we're laughing at the individual. Yes, she can still get pregnant. Yes. So a woman can get pregnant outside of having sex. And I am not even thinking about AI with artificial insemination, because where there is, this is a grade 10, 11 adult room. So if there are minors, parents, I ask you to safeguard your child, because I'm teaching the real content as I normally do. All right. So, and it is human and social biology. So I have to tell you the truth. Where there is heavy petting and all of those stuff, that could lead to pregnancy, and there is no. And if you remember when I was teaching you reproduction, I told you of a case in the USA where I think it was 17 girls got pregnant from a pool party. It was a rare thing that a young man ejaculated in the pool and these girls got pregnant, but it was real. It happened. It is rare. They didn't have sex. It happened in the US. Girls getting pregnant in pool. Probably you can type it on Google and find it. It made the news. So we want now to get back to in the pool. All right, great. There is something called splash pregnancy. Papa Jesus, Campbell, you'll have to tell us about splash pregnancy. This is a fun-filled class, and we're covering the content. And this is pretty much a tricky question that we're trying to answer, but we're looking at all the cases that are similar to answer this question. What is splash pregnancy? Definitely Mr. Wilson wants to know. Of course, Mr. Wilson can't get pregnant, so Mr. Wilson probably want to know about that. Like persons tell me about using red stripe and cigarette ash. I didn't know those stuff. It's a good thing I was at class that day. All right. All right. Where do we go? Splash pregnancy. Tell me about that, Campbell, as we make our way. Our class is pretty much well within the ambits of YouTube. It's an education class. We're teaching biology science and all the content that are pertinent to biology reproduction. Our license would allow us to talk about them. We're not talking about porn here. We're talking about what's on the syllabus and things that are associated with the syllabus. Cam would like to know too. So who told us about splash pregnancy? Wasn't it Campbell? Okay. So Peter Gay Campbell is saying that what it is that there is a sperm pretty close to the entry of the vagina, and that could cause pregnancy. In that case, there is no penetration. All right, good. Splash pregnancy is apparently so called because it does not involve actual penetration, but ejaculation in the vicinity of the exterior of the vagina. That's somehow when it's way I think it finds its way to the ovary. I'm not too sure what's there. This is what I found, sir. It's pretty much the same explanation that I got from Campbell, and I think I can treat with that. So with all this information that we have now, that there doesn't need, we really don't need to have a penetration for pregnancy. The question is, remind me of a question. Can a person catch AIDS by masturbation? So I will arm you with all the information. If you have what I want to call potent enough pathogen, the pathogen is there and you have a rupture on that penis, a cut, a bruise, a blister, ulcer, whatever you call it, and you have that pathogen on your hand, be that it is alive and not dead, you can catch AIDS from masturbation. Anybody want to challenge that? I'm waiting. Anybody want to challenge that? I am waiting. Come with me. A hand have direct contact with infected serum or vaginal fluid, and then that hand has contact with the urethral opening of your penis or the inside of your vagina. It's just about can happen. So just let me share what Amoy said there. But that was not so much of a difficult thing to answer because we were already armed with the information that what really causes the AIDS is, of course, being exposed to the pathogen, not the fact that you were not having sex. It is being impacted, being in contact, there is transfusion. That is what actually causes the AIDS. So if you want to know, if you don't agree with us, let us have a discourse on this. Yes, you can catch AIDS from masturbation. Yes, you can become pregnant and not have sex. Because it is not the sex that gets you pregnant, it is the sperms. It is not the sex that gives you the AIDS. It is a pathogen. All right, so let's read and move right along. Yes, I believe it's possible. There is a method, sir, where you purchase sperm and inject into. I'm not talking about artificial insemination. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what, because that is intentional. I'm talking about your daughter coming home, being pregnant, and never ever have sex, never ever exposed to artificial insemination as it would have been done by a professional, but because of probably splash or probably just exposure to the sperms, would have caused this problem. And this is a conversation worth having with our girls, that it is not the penis that gets you pregnant. It is in fact the sperms, and exposure could of course cause you to become pregnant. Exposure during masturbation could of course cause you to acquire that HIV. Yes. So I have to go. All right, great. So thanks much for stopping by. We'll watch it. All right, that's good. HIV, sir. Yes. Hand. Yes, HIV. Great. Hand has the pathogen. Yeah, once the pathogen is there. Great. And that is why we said, remember I gave you my disclaimer when I started out. Once it is potent or alive, I don't know which one you're talking about, whether you're talking about the sperms or you're talking about the HIV. And we said once it is alive, we started out that way. Once it is potent, once it has the ability to infect, yes, it can happen. That's how we started out. We won't even go down the track that it catch air or it doesn't catch air, because it's the same thing. Sperms under normal conditions should die in water, but in that particular case, it did not happen. All right. So the best thing to do here, I want to move away from AIDS. Think about having the gonorrhea bacteria on your hand and you are masturbating. You are telling me that you are not going to catch it? Oh, really? Really? Think about herpes. Guys, come on, let's wake up and think about it. It is not so much the action, it is the pathogen that is causing the problem. We'll move right along into the lesson. And of course, you can leave me the comments after the show, and we'll definitely talk about it and pretty much find some case study on that. I am open, I am willing to listen to what you have to say. You can get HIV through masturbation, through mutual masturbation. There we go. I'll show them. All right, and Amma is a health person here. What about mosquito bite? All right, mosquito bite is another tricky one. How I'd answer that? If we were supposed to get HIV from mosquito bite, we would cease to exist as a population. We would cease to exist as a population. You think about a mosquito leaving over there and coming over here and going over there and going over there. And when we have in ZikV and ChickV, it wouldn't be ZikV and ChickV. It would have been mass AIDS casualty in the Caribbean. So my answer to that is no. All right, great. So we can move on. I think I like that, and I think I really love that question. I think I really, really love that question. Murphy's theory, if it can, it will. All right, control. How do we guard against that HIV pathogen? How do we control that pathogen? What are some of the things? What are some of the things that need to be done? What are some of the things that need to be done in order for us to stay away, stay safe? All right, share that in the chat for me. I really enjoy that just a bit, and I really enjoy the question. I'm not sure if it is sir or ma'am, but I really, really love that question. I really love that question, and I'll be talking about that question in my scientific community as the week go by. All right, so we're now looking at how we can safeguard ourselves or stay away from the HIV virus. So the first thing, we really don't want to share our needles. And I'm looking at the screen, what you have to say. Use a condom. So use a condom. On my top of my list would have been stay away from persons that are infected. Then don't share needles, somebody said. Then another thing, use a condom and use it properly. The whole population would be infected. Okay. One partner try to be with one partner and make sure we have that conversation of being safe. And this is biosecurity in having one partner. Practice safe sex. The safe sex thing, it's a big thing, and by now we should be affair with it. Kissing someone that might have a cut. Not kissing so much, but if there's a rupture, then you could, of course, catch it. Now, sharing utensils in the kitchen, you won't catch AIDS like that. All right, you'd have to get some blood on it or something like that to have it. Abstain. Now, if abstinence is good, then stay away from it, from sex, because that's what abstinence is. Avoid that. Get regular checkup. Get regular checkup because the incubation period for AIDS is so long, and you might have the disease and not know. So when you meet this new handsome fella or this new beautiful person, make sure you go get tested before you decide to cross that path. All right. Where do I go? Monogamous relationship. There we go. Education. Make sure that everyone knows. As we're here now and we're sharing and we are looking at all the possibility and impossibilities, and in some cases we are turning impossibilities into possibilities. We have to have these dialogue. Both you and your partner should check up. Get check up regularly. All right. You must have a time when you go to the doctor and you can get tested. One of the limitations to that is the cost, and persons are fearful, more so men. Be educated about the topic. Right, so you want to avoid blood that is contaminated. No use of human blood in like schools and experiments. So when we are doing experiments in schools, we try to stay away from anything that is taken from human in schools. I'm not too sure what happens at university. In order to make sure that you are well, it is very important that we maintain that T4 or CD4 lymphocyte count. We have to make sure that we maintain that. And in some cases, we have to make sure we have medication that we can stay safe. If we're pregnant, the baby can stay safe and all of that. Now, treatment. This is going to be a big thing, and you pretty much want to pay attention to the treatment here because AIDS can be treated. But of the four methods known to us to treat AIDS, none really cure AIDS. What they do is pretty much to limit the spread or limit the growth and give you a longer time to live. But eventually, your number will come. Now, treatment for AIDS, they are pretty much about 2 or more antiretroviral drugs that is used. And they are usually taken between 1 and 3 times per day. One, I can imagine taking tablets in the morning, lunchtime, evening. You take it about 3 times for the day. Now, the cost to deal with the treatment of AIDS is really, really high. It is about 10,000 US dollar per year. Now, so you understand that persons who are from less affluent family, less affluent country, they will, of course, succumb to the AIDS virus, or yeah, this HIV virus very, very quickly. They will not live as long as those persons that are from really wealthy states and so on. Now, I'd asked earlier, why is HIV considered a retrovirus? Now, HIV is a retrovirus because it uses the RNA to make DNA in the host cell. All right, so HIV is a retrovirus because it uses the RNA that it has to make DNA inside the host cell. Hence, it is called an antiretrovirus. Hence it is called a retrovirus, and the drug, antiretrovirus drug, is of course used to treat the virus or persons affected by the virus. So use antiretrovirus, antiretroviral drugs to treat the condition of HIV. Now, there are different types of antiretroviral drugs, and I'm going to go very slowly so that you can get them in the chat there and you will understand how they work. All right, great. So the first drug that we are going to look at is a drug that is called the AZT zinovodine. AZT zidovodine. AZT zidovodine. Now, it is a nucleoside, and what it does, it stops mitosis in the virus. Hence, there is no replication. So you understand what is mitosis from asexual reproduction. So if I had this pen and I wanted a new pen, all I needed to do is to just separate this, and then this would grow as one pen, and this would grow as one pen. Now, this whole thing is pretty much a simplified form of mitosis, the thing just breaking apart and just making copies of itself. So the first drug that we look at is the one we call AZT zidovodine. Zidovodine. It is a nucleoside that stops mitosis in the virus. So it stops it from separating, from replicating. All right. So that's the first drug we look at. The second drug we want to look at that treats this HIV virus is the new Nuvarapine. It is a non-nucleoside reverse. It is non-nucleoside reverse, and of course, what it does, like the other drug, is to prevent mitosis. What it does, like the drug before that is now in the chat by Powell, it prevents mitosis. So it prevents this replication of the virus. Then there is another drug. This is the third drug. It is called saquinavir. 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 Now, saquinavir, this is a protease. So protease, protein. It is a protease inhibitor. And what it does, it allows the virus to make copies of itself. But these copies, they are not able to infect new cells. So the drug will allow it to make the copy, but these copies are like they are sterile. All right? And then there is another NEVIRAPINE. Right, Powell? That's the spelling. Then the other thing now is one we refer to as fusion or N-fluvirtide. N-fluvirtide. Enfervitide. All right? And this prevents the fusion. We remember we spoke about the fusion. It prevents that virus from fusing, from joining to the lymphocyte. So that helps to extend your life so that you can live a little more, see your family a little more. But the sad thing about it is that you will still have the AIDS. You will still have the virus, the HIV virus. Even after you have taken these medication, you still will have the virus. The thing about it is that your viral load will not be as heavy when you are taking the medication. A drawback to taking the medication, however, is the whole idea that it has a whole lot of side effects. It has a whole lot of side effects. And taking so much poison, or what persons like to call poison, because they call medicine poison, taking so much of that inside of the body, then of course it's only likely that you're going to be having some hiccup that you really don't know about, some things that you didn't want. All right. Now, it controls the disease, as I said before, but it does not cure the disease. Yes. Any disease that takes over the body is, of course, you're going to have that lymph node being swollen, and you're going to have the pain because it's telling the body, hey, something is wrong. Hey, you need to treat with something here. Something is not going right in the body. Because remember, we don't have like a LCD, a display screen, so we have to feel pain or temperature or something, or itch or something to say that something is wrong. Now we want to look at something a little more closer to home, that which most persons would probably just ignore. The importance of AIDS in the Caribbean. And what this means is that why we need to know about AIDS in the Caribbean. Why don't we study something else? Why don't we study about going to the moon? But we have to study about AIDS in the Caribbean because the Caribbean has the second most affected rate in the Caribbean, in the world. All right. So we are second when it comes to infection in the world, the Caribbean. Another thing about AIDS, why we need to understand it in the Caribbean, is that AIDS is the world fourth leading killer of all race. So whether you're looking at black man, purple man, green man, pink man, orange man, whatever color human being you're looking at, AIDS is the fourth cause of death in our population. Another thing about AIDS that we need to that makes it so important, a disease for us to know about, is that it has a long incubation period, which means that you might be suffering from the disease and you didn't even realize. You're living all nice and dandy, going to parties and all of that, and you're passing the disease from A to B to C to all the letters of the alphabet, and you didn't even know. So as a result, we must get tested and really don't take it for granted, because pretty much I used to live in a parish in Jamaica where I could tell you persons who are affected. That is how closely knit the community was. And you know everybody there who has the disease, or in most cases, you know those persons who have had it for a long time. That is probably what I should have said. Now, another thing about AIDS is that it causes death of all who would have been exposed to it. So once you have the AIDS, someday, if not today, if not tomorrow, it doesn't matter how much medication you are taking, someday the good Lord, the good Creator, will call you home. There's another thing that we need to know about AIDS and why it is important to the Caribbean. Because, like any virus, we are developing resistance, and also it continues to mutate, continue to change. So because it continues to change, it makes it very difficult to effectively treat it and, of course, find a cure. I said before, the drug must be taken for a lifetime. I know that some persons don't even want to eat chicken for their lifetime. Some persons want a little fish today, a little pork tomorrow, a little something else on another day, some vegetable and something. So can you imagine you are taking a medication 3 times per day for the rest of your life when you really don't even want to eat chicken for the entire week? Oh my, that's a punishment in itself. Now, people not knowing that they have the disease makes it also a really, really tricky venture to live with. And of course, some of the reasons that we have to look at. Now, the incubation period, 10 years, rightfully said on the screen. 10 years. So you have it, and you don't even know. You really don't know. So this takes us to probably the nice part of the class. The part of the class where we are going to quarrel and fight and answer some questions. Now, I think I like the classes that are controversial. I like it. You know why? I get the attention of everyone and everybody have a little input, right? So we're going to be looking at that part now. We are going to be looking at the 20, Anna is at it. We are going to be looking at the 2014, I think. Let me tell you, It is let me tell you what paper it is, because you might have it in your stock, and that would help us to go very fast. So I'm looking at the 2014 paper. I think I said it at the start of the class. I am at section A, and we're looking at question number 1. Now, the instructions are, and please be reminded that this is a paper from CXC. The instructions are: answer all questions in this section. Write your answer in the space provided in this booklet. You might need to get yourself a piece of pen and paper, as we are going to be doing a little graph in this lesson. So you might need a graph leaf and your geometry set, so we can have our first graph class, or probably one in so many I've done before. So this is the first question you have been waiting on, or the first statement. Human immunodeficiency virus, human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, is commonly transmitted via unprotected sex. Pay attention to the word commonly. It's a clue. With an infected person. So you are not going to be catching HIV from somebody that doesn't have the virus if you have sex with them. You must be exposed to someone or to the pathogen somewhere else. A, suggest 2 ways by which HIV is transmitted. That's your first 2 marks. Tell me in the chat. Sorry, 2 ways. Oh, okay, sorry. Let us get this right. So one way we said that you can catch it by having sex with an infected person. Now we want you to suggest 2 other ways by which HIV can be transmitted. Type it in the chat for me, so it means that you should not talk about sex. Oh, it's a May June HSB paper, but if you're a bio student, these questions are pertinent just the same. Disease, HIV is on both syllabus. Our disease is on both syllabus. More disease for HSB, but AIDS in particular is on both syllabus. Okay, welcome. All right. So for the persons who are stopping by for the first time, welcome to the show. I am Mr. Wilson. We have a class on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. This is pretty much a place where the brightest minds contend, as they choose not to have their Sunday dinner, but to come online to argue biology and HSB. We also have some 240 videos on the channel. You can just click that blue button over there that says CSEC Biology TCP. It will take you to the back end of our channel, and you can choose to play from the playlist or play from the videos. That is fine, and enjoy. We have a number of past papers, and as I have been told to do, I have to be sending out past paper almost daily. So we are doing what is called a little quickie now, where we are sending out a 1 question, at least 1 per day or 2 per day, looking at some questions we think would have been troublesome, or things that you probably wouldn't have studied. Our emphasis is more so on question 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we are going to be doing this for both biology and HSB. So let me go now. My students are really interactive students. I really love them, a whole world. All right, welcome sharing needle. All right, that is 1. Breastfeeding, sharing needles. They are on the ball. Infected blood transfusion, they're on the ball. Breastfeeding, all right. Sharing needle, breastfeeding. Open cut on skin, that is insufficient. I have open cut on my skin from time to time, and I don't have AIDS. All right, so that is insufficient. An unborn child can get it, HIV via mother. All right, you probably need to put a little more meat on that. That is sort of limited to what we'd love to hear. Contacted contact with the pathogen. All right. I like this one. but I'm going to be devil's advocate before I move on. Powell, I like wrong answers, you know. I am fueled by wrong answers. Um, my hand doesn't have a cut in it now. All right, it's all nice and dandy. If I were supposed to get the HIV virus in my hand as is now, and then I was supposed to wash it away with detergent and all that, would I still catch the disease? The answer is no, I wouldn't. Right? It would have to enter my blood in order for that to happen. No, I wouldn't catch a disease. All right. So we don't want to just say contact with the pathogen. It goes a little more than just contact. All right. So you must be like two broken areas. So you have somewhere that is broken, a lesion on the skin or something, and then that broken area become in contact with the pathogen or is infected by the pathogen. In that way, of course, you'd be fine there. Mother to child during pregnancy, blood transfusion, sharing needle, blood transfusion. Two ways you can contract HIV infection are by breastfeeding, sharing needle, blood transfusion. All of those are nice. And of course, it can cross across the placenta during pregnancy. I was looking for the placenta word. That's from mother to child, but give me something that you understand the content. And I don't do that. All right, breastfeeding, blood transfusion. So for the greater part, everybody here would have secured full marks, and those persons who did not secure full marks, and I said no, you are supposed to type over the right answer in the chat because we are practicing to become perfect. So if you got it wrong, you try find a way and write the right answer because there are several right answers there. Practice, practice, become perfect. Don't hang up on us. Don't give up on us. All right. Great. You did well there. Everybody should get should I say a clap? All right. Some affirmation there. All right. Great. Let's move on. So we're looking at B, and we're looking at the 2014 Human and Social Biology paper, May, June. Acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS, is caused by a human immunodeficiency virus. The virus affects some cells of the circulatory system. Name circulatory system. Remember that part there? I said remember. You remember that part? Great. All right. Name the cell that is specifically targeted and destroyed by the human immunodeficiency virus. Great, we covered that in the lesson. Wait. Yeah, blood exchange, blood transfusion. All right, great. Did we? Jay, you gotta be a little more specific around here, son. You gotta be a little more specific. Person can. All right. Melbourne, you gotta be a little more specific here. Powell, you gotta be a little more specific here. Okay, read over. Fine, I'll do that. You have to be specific. And let me read the question. It says acquired immune deficiency syndrome, AIDS, is caused by the human immunodeficiency virus. This, and please don't do that. This virus affects some cells of the circulatory system. Some cells of the circulatory system. Name the cell that is specifically, you see that word here? Targeted and destroyed by the human immunodeficiency virus. Specifically, that's a big word there. So you can't just write white blood cell. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. I gave you the specific name in the lesson. I did. The specific cell. Come on, guys. You're watching Mr. Wilson live. We are on air on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. And we're streaming from Kingston, Jamaica. Please be reminded to like, share, and of course, subscribe. When you subscribe, remember to click that notification bell and select all. When you do, you will receive our latest publication. Now we're doing our little marathon in our own way, and we're doing this exam quickie where we're sending you a question every day. Every day, as much as we can, and the system will allow me to, I will. In some days, on some days, I'll send more than one. Once. All right, some persons are saying a lot of things. CD4 helper cell or T cell. CD4 cell. All right, and AMOA is coming out. All right, so a lot of things are being said there. We made note in our class today of we made note of CD4. What did I tell you about CD4? We told you that the CD4 level must be. We made mention of T4 or the CD4 lymphocyte. All right, we made mention of that. We're looking for the T lymphocyte, which are pretty much the place that they are going to attack first. So it is, of course, a T lymphocyte that we're looking for this particular question. T lymphocyte. All right, great. T lymphocyte, the specific thing, T lymphocyte. All right, any concern, leave it in the comments, I'll respond. All right, here we go again. State 2 signs or symptoms of AIDS. 2 signs or symptoms. So it is signs or symptoms of AIDS. All right, so we move away from T lymphocyte and now we are looking at signs and symptoms of AIDS. Place it in the chat there. We are doing well so far. So for those persons who didn't know about the T lymphocyte or that hopped over the head, please be reminded that when the HIV attacks the body, it is actually attacking the T lymphocyte and breaking down the immune system or compromising the immune system. So now we want to know about 2 signs or symptoms of AIDS. Rapid loss of weight, rapid weight loss, and what should that be? Scores? Running belly? Not too sure what that should be. 2 symptoms of AIDS are hurting swelling of the lymph node and fever/fatigue. Yeah, but J, that can be for so many other diseases. You'll have that. All right, fever, swelling of the lymph node, inflammation of the throat, rash, muscle pain, measles, you name it. And the list goes long. I see. The thing about AIDS is that because it compromises the immune system, almost everything that every other disease, the symptoms probably are possibly cured. All right, rapid weight loss and night sweat. These are 2 popular ones we use with AIDS. Rapid weight loss and, of course, night sweat. All right, sign, weight loss. Oral thrush, I've heard of that. Sores, I think I need a glasses. Sores, all right. Our sores are lesion on the skin. All right, understand. All right, great. That wasn't bad. Thanks much. Let's move on to the other question. And the other question is going to be, listen to this one carefully. And this one you must just come out with the answer. Both gonorrhea and syphilis are transmitted via unprotected sex with an infected person. Why are these diseases referred to as venereal and AIDS is not referred to as venereal? Both gonorrhea and syphilis are transmitted via unprotected sex with an infected person. Why are these diseases referred to as venereal and AIDS is not referred to as venereal disease? No, Jay. No, Jay. All right, we're waiting on that. This is a question that we even did in this class about venereal disease versus non-venereal disease. So why is it AIDS is not considered a venereal disease? This should be very easy. Hello, Crystal Mattis. Why is AIDS not considered a venereal disease? Because they can only be transmitted through, careful Melbourne, you want to look at what the question is asking. Through sexual contact, while AIDS can be transmitted other than sexual contact. Okay, great. The last part there is very good, Melbourne. While AIDS is not referred to, why AIDS is not referred to as venereal disease is because it is not only sexual intercourse that can cause the transmission. Could catch it other ways. Because gonorrhea and syphilis are transmitted via sexual contact only. Which only? Only. Careful. Only. Careful. All right. You just stop me in my tracks. You know where you stop me in my tracks? Do some research on the Tuskegee experiment that they had on black man when they infected them with the gonorrhea and were giving them the placebo. One of those ethical war against black people in science history. All right. So most persons have a clear and a better understanding now. AIDS is not a venereal disease because it is transmitted in many cases without having sex. Unlike the syphilis and the gonorrhea, AIDS is popularly transferred, you said it, with needles and all of those stuff. All right. And that is something really synonymous with AIDS, HIV, that thing. All right. Great. So that is just a thing. If it's venereal, it is sexual. It is considered to be sexual. If it is non-venereal, then it's going to be sexual and other ways. All right. Or sexual contact, one would say sexual contact. All right, so this one now is going to have you taking out your graph leaf, and we're going to look at how we can solve this in distant land. Table 1 shows the estimated prevalence of HIV and the death due to AIDS within the Caribbean. And this took place at the end of 2009. Now, I have a table here with 3 columns and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 rows. So it has 3 columns and 8 rows. In the first column, the header row starts with country. Below country, we have Bahamas, Barbados, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago. What does that mean in Jamaica with these figures? All right, so I'll go again under country. We have Bahamas, Barbados, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Jamaica, and Trinidad. Now in our second column, in the header row, we have persons living with HIV/AIDS. Now for Bahamas, there is 660. For Barbados, there is 210. For Cuba, there is 710. For the Dominican Republic, there is 5,700. For Haiti, there is 12,000. 12,000. For Jamaica, it is 3,200. For Trinidad and Tobago, 1,500. Let me do that again. So for the header column, for the second row, for the header row for the second column, persons living with HIV/AIDS, that's the heading. In line, the same row with Bahamas, there are 660 persons, Barbados 210, Cuba 710, Dominica Republic 5,700, Haiti 12,200, Jamaica 3,000. What did I say? Haiti has 12,000. Sorry, Haiti has 12,000. Jamaica 3,200. Trinidad and Tobago 1,500. Deaths due to AIDS. That is their final column. Death due to AIDS. In line with Bahamas, we have 50, Barbados 12, Cuba 15, Dominica Republic 230, Haiti 710, Jamaica 120, Trinidad and Tobago 90. Let's go again. We're looking at death due to AIDS, and we're in the third column. Bahamas has 50, Barbados 12, Jamaica 15, the Dominican Republic 230, Haiti 710, Jamaica 120, Trinidad and Tobago 90. Now we move into the question. On your graph leaves, you are going to construct a bar graph of the number of deaths due to AIDS using the data in the table. You are going to get 3 marks for that. So we are going to be having a conversation as to the construct of this graph, because everybody is saying I am not doing the graph on the exam because that is a problem. So I'm going to grab myself a pen and a pencil, and I'm going to be listening to everyone, and we're going to try to put this graph together. So I do hope that we all have a graph leaf or a piece of paper that we probably could just draw a scale on. So I'm just going to use a blank paper. I have a blank paper here, and I'm going to draw the y-axis. I'm just going to draw a y-axis coming down. Remember, the y-axis is the axis that goes vertical. And usually we have an arrow at the top saying that it is going in that way. So this here, from just let me just up on over to the screen. So this here is going to be my y-axis, and then I'm going to go across, and this here is going to be my x-axis. So for those persons who don't remember axis, so this is the y-axis going up. It has an arrow at the top here, and this is the x-axis going across. It has an arrow right here. Great. That is just the start of the graph. The next thing we need to do is to name the axis. Now, what will be the name of the y-axis? Anybody can tell me? Type it in the chat. I'm not doing the graph alone. We're doing the graph now, guys. Welcome to the room. We're doing graph now. We're looking at AIDS in the Caribbean, and we're looking at question number 1, section A of the 2014 May-June HSB paper. All right. There's a song in Jamaica that says, "That's how we do it when we're nice," or something to that effect. I don't even know what it is called. Oh, so let me get back to this thing before we go offline. So where I am asking what is going to go on the x-axis. The name that we're going to is that's what that asks. If I didn't ask what if I didn't ask, this is what I'm asking now. What is going to go on the name of the x-axis, the one that go across like that? That goes across the x-axis. What is it that we're going to, what name are we going to give to that axis? What name are we going to give to that? All right. Let me come on back over there. I'm sorry. So I know I saw the name here. All right. All right. All right. Some persons don't know. All right, great. Am I? Why are you going to call it country? Why are you going to call it country, am I? You want to tell us why you're going to call it country? Because everybody is going to get this today, you know. What we put where. Why do we call that country, am I? Why are you going to name the x-axis country? Yes, it is country. But why are we going to name it country? For those persons who are wondering, no, I'm not going to provoke you now. It is country. Why are we going to name it country? Because that's where you put the name. Am I? Don't do that to me. All right, I'll help you. Never mind, I'll help you. I'll help you. Yes, very good, Campbell. It is the independent variable that is usually placed on the x-axis. Another rule that we have is that it is the information that is in the first column, usually, that we place on the x-axis. So when we're taking that information from the table, the information that is in the first column, usually, that is usually the independent variable. And that is the variable that we place on the x-axis. All right? Amar, you'll never forget that. All right, great. So the information, very good. Now look at it now. You don't want to go and reinvent the wheel. If you look at the table, you will realize that in the header row, it was titled country. So if it was titled country, we are going to use back country. So all we're going to do now is to just write country a little bit down on the paper. Because that's what they gave us. So we'll put it down here. Now, another thing that we need to do. All right, so just let's deal with naming the axis. So the x-axis is named country based on what is in the table. If you put countries, then it would be right just the same. It's seriously that it doesn't matter. But for me, I am not going to reinvent the wheel. I'm going to use the same thing that is in the table. And for the title of the graph, whatever title there was for the table, it is the same title I'm going to give to my graph. So the title for this table here, let me tell you the title for the table. The title for this table, it's a table showing the estimated HIV prevalence and deaths due to AIDS in the Caribbean. Now, your graph is not going to show prevalence. So I would take out prevalence out of this, change the table to graph, and then everything else would have been the title or the name of my graph. On the y-axis now, we need a name. What name are we going to give to the y-axis? Because we are now trying to get that 3 marks, you know. What name are we going to give to that y-axis, the one coming down? What name are we going to give to that axis? All right, you're watching Mr. Wilson live. We're streaming from Kingston, Jamaica in the Caribbean. We're online on a Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. We're covering content on biology and human and social biology to fulfill the needs of the CXC CSEC syllabus. One might say syllabi. All right, great. So we're always here. You can also partake in our 240 videos online that covers both subjects by clicking that blue icon there that says CSEC Biology, the cover page. Just below here, you will also find a red button that says subscribe. Click on that button, then select the bell. When you select the bell, click all so that you'll be notified as soon as there's a new publication. There's also a yellow square here that says CSEC Biology TCP. You can also click on that to subscribe. In most of our videos, to the top right there, there's a white circle with an inverted exclamation sign that gives you the suggested video. You can click on that. And at the end of all our uploads, you'll find 3, 4, 2 videos at the end that will further assist your learning. All right. If you are watching one of our past paper, then if you click up the top, you will see the list of other past papers. And if you watch the video to the end, you'll see many other past paper in the end screen. So now we're looking for that name for the x-axis. All right, great. Amoy, what happened to you? Where you gone? Number of cases, y-axis. No, it won't be called y-axis. It is already x and y-axis, but you need to have a specific name. And that specific name, it's probably nice that you said y-axis. The name is to tell you what is going to be on that axis. That is what the name is for. So if time is going to be on the axis, time. If temperature is going to be there, temperature. If population is going to be there, population size. Whatever is you are going to place on that axis, that is the name that you are going to give to the axis. So on that y-axis, I think it is nicely said here by Susan, who said it's going to be death due to AIDS. Now, where did she get this from? She got it from the table. It says here, death due to AIDS. That is what we're going to put on that axis. Now, remember, now that we have that, we need to do something else. Now, your graph leaf is divided into some little squares. Each is about a centimeter. It won't be so nicely represented on mine, but I'm just drawing, right? So now we need to know how many and how much we need to use to represent. So just let me just draw down a little thing right here. This is not drawn to scale. I really don't have a graph book with me, so I can't use a graph book to represent the data. All right, so your grid might look something like this. All right, and you have these, right, great. That is your grid. All right, great. Let's take that out of the way. You have to have, in most cases, a key for your graph, and you might have to have a scale. It's not all the time that you have a key, but in most cases, you are going to have a scale. And what the scale does is to tell you how much of these square or these line represents whatever unit you are using. All right? Sir, that's the last question for tonight. Let me tell you the last question. There's one bit. We have the graph question, and then we have 3 other questions. After we would have answered the graph, there are just 3 questions, and everything is on AIDS. All right? Now that we have the graph, we have to decide how many of these squares we are going to use to represent each of those. Now, I don't remember how many of the squares we have going across, but what you can do is to count them and determine how many of these little squares you are going to use to represent each other country. Now, one of the things is that you want to be consistent. If you are using one of the square that is 1 centimeter on the x-axis represent a country, or 2 centimeter on the x-axis represent a country, or 3, I don't know how many you're going to use. But make sure that it is neat. One of the rules about graphs is that you should use at least 75% of your graph leaf. You should use at least 75% of your graph leaf. Now, if you are doing a graph and there's a figure that falls way out of your scale, So we are counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then the next figure is 100, 102, 104. Now that can't be represented on a graph. It wouldn't hold. So what you're going to do, you could use this to show that there is a break in the data, and you are going to draw that on your axis thingy to show that there's a break in the data. So what would count 2, 4, 6? This represents the 100. Then we go so 2, 4, 6, 8, and then we have this break in the data, and then here we start 102, 104, 106, 108, that type of a thing. So it shows a break in the data. Outside of that, we could also use this figure, this symbol. We could also use this lightning symbol to show that the data has been broken. All right, but this is probably the popular one I'm seeing at CXC, but either of these could be used. Great. So now that we have decided the x-axis, how many we need to use for our country, I don't know how many you are going to use. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remember, sorry about the bikes, we'll be out of here in a short while. Remember, we're doing a bar graph and not a histogram. So if we're doing a bar graph, I'm using up all of my paper now, and I don't even have paper. If we're doing a bar graph, I'm going to be using this one at the top, then the bar should not touch. All right, if we are doing a bar graph, best practice, the bars should not touch. Now the bar should be of the same width, means same thickness, but they will be of different height in most cases. So this here represents a bar graph. If you observe the bars, they are not touching each other, right? If they are touching, it is not a bar graph, it is instead a histogram, right? Now, the thing about bar graph is that it usually represents data that are not so closely fit. They are somewhat independent, right? Like you have the country, the amount of persons with AIDS in Jamaica doesn't necessarily link to the person in Haiti or the persons in Trinidad. All right, great. So having done this now, then the other thing that you need to do, you are going to need to have a scale now for your y-axis. Let me look at the data and let us see if we can determine how much we are going to go up by. So we started at 12. We started at 12. Now, what number, how many, anybody with a graph leaf, just say yes. Let me work with somebody with a graph leaf. Is there anybody there with a graph leaf? Oh, what would be a histogram? Great. So let me show you an histogram. All right, histogram would have the bars touching each other. So once the bars are touching each other, it is a histogram. The thing about a histogram, a line graph can also be used to represent the data on a histogram. So this is a histogram, and by virtue of saying that to me, you know what you have just told me? By asking that question, you have just told me that you don't understand continuous and discontinuous variation. Yeah, when I'm doing graph, one student's having problem with bar graph and histogram, you don't understand continuous and discontinuous variation, because that is the time when these two graphs must be used, and we are long past that. So you probably need to go back to that topic and check on it. Melbourne, I'm working with you. Count your number squares from 0 upward. Tell me how many squares you have so that everybody could just fall in. How many squares you have from 0 upward? So we can try, we're trying to build a scale now. Just tell me quickly. We're out of time, long time. We are almost 28 minutes over time. I might get pashy because this is really a long class. The numbers, all right, I don't know what's the number. Probably it's about 9. Yes, that's the question that we're doing. How are you doing? Good evening. We are doing a May, June. Yes, that's the exam that we're doing. Ramal Van, that's the question that we're doing. Vasu, that's the question that we're doing. Great. All right. So, Melbourne, you got 21? No, we can't have 21. That's not so many. Really? I don't remember a graph leaf, but I doubt it's that. Tell you what, there's a graph leaf on the exam paper. So I'll just count that one. All right, my computer is saying that it has had enough. So I'll have to rely on whatever you guys tell me. I don't know what it is. So it is actually 20. It's actually 20 thereabout. I'm saying if the touch is all right. So somebody got 16, somebody got 10. It's definitely not. If you, Amar, you're looking at the exam paper itself. Amar, are you looking at the exam paper itself? Because I think the graph that is on the exam paper is a little smaller. Okay, so if you're looking at the exam paper, it's a little smaller. All right, let us use the exam paper. Is that the one you're using, Amoy? Because I want to make sure that we're using and practicing the one for the exam. So at the bottom here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, wow, 9. And we have 8 figures there. Ah, 9, one might say 10. We're looking at it, most persons are looking at the exam paper. Let us see if we can get a scale in for this one. And you are working on it with me, you know. I never tell you that I am a genius on this thing. So you have to work with me. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if we have 7 and we have just about 9 things there, we have to try to fit this on the graph. All right. So what do you suggest? How do we go up to get this into 7 and get everything to all on the graph? What do you suggest? Let me hear your suggestion. Let me hear your suggestion. Just type it in. What are you going to go up with? Remember that it will be consistent, and this is what most students don't like about graphs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 there, 9 lines to be filled. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, so see if we can use 7. All right, so we are seeing a whole lot of stuff here. Will they be able to hold on the graph? I am going to just write them out and see how best we can fit them, find a scale for it. So we have 50, we have 12, we have 15, we have 230, we have 7, 10, we have 120, and this is why persons don't want to do the graph questions, because to make the scale is a problem, so nobody not playing with that. I am good, great. P2 excretion question most likely will be on kidney and dialysis, similar to January. All right, we are definitely going to look on that. But a long time, you don't really show me, man. You need to send me something in the thing, man. A long time we're not talking. Oh, where I live, so. All right. So, students, there we are getting a little heads up that there's a possibility that the kidney question and dialysis will come. So I'll definitely work that one and send it out for you. All right. So let us treat with this though. I am lost. All right, great. I will help you. A lot of persons going to fall off because this is where some maths come in. But I'm going to make it very easy for you. We're looking at the 2014 May-June paper 2. Question number 1, section A. We're looking at AIDS because we just did a class on AIDS. And persons were saying that, sir, we can't do graph. I need some help with graph. So far, we have gone through naming the axis and how we get the information to go on the axis. We have also looked at a scale for the x-axis, which I didn't even to pay attention to seriously, because all we know is that they are supposed to be the same width and they are not supposed to touch. So everybody can work that out. The problem that we're going to have with this graph is to find a scale for the y-axis. Now, when we look at the numbers that we have here, they are not in any clear graduation to say that we could use. Now we have about 7 to 9 spaces to get this information on. Now we have 7 things here, so we want to break this up into 7 that we can capture all this data on the sheet. Now we can, so in some cases you can probably do a maths and do it. In some cases you have to work it out. So we must capture, we're supposed to capture 12 and 15. How can we capture 12 and 15? Now, if you are using a graph leaf, I want you to look in the cell and you will realize that it is divided into about 5 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the main line there being 5. So it's divided into 5 parts. So if we were supposed to start from 10 and we move up, then we would have ended up with just 70. But we need to get up to 710. How do we do this? How do we do this? We need to get up to 710. I'm waiting for somebody to break the silence. So let me mark my graph and decide where I'm going to use. All right, so I'm going to start right there. So that's going to be my 0, 0. All right, so we're having a little thing here. Being that we need to go up to 700, if we start, we have only, let me tell you how many cells we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're using the bottom here as 0. So we are going to start at the first black line. Now if we call the first black line 100, if we call the first black line 100, then each of the smaller lines between, they are going to be equal to 20. Because 5 2s 10. So each of the smallest line in your graph, they will equal, each will equal to 20. So when you start counting, you are going to have 20, 40, 60, 80, and then you'll find that you get to 100. So just label the dark lines 100, 100, 100 until you get up to about 800. Anybody lost, or are you still with me? Anybody is with, are you with me? I need more of this. All right, great. So we are looking at a graph leaf, and it is not a full graph leaf. CXC decided to make it easier, give it to us. What we know is that we need to get 700 on it, and we need to get 12 on it, right? So we know that half of 20 is 10, right? So we know that it is a little bit above one of those lines. So in order to get the 710 on the limited space that we have, we know that the corner, can I draw that for somebody? I'm going to draw it for you. I'm going to, just give me 1 second. No, I'm going to help you. All right, so I keep counting because I can't remember, I'm old. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, great. So we need to have 10 cells. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 cells. Oh my. So we have 10 cells here. All right, great. Great, 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 great. All right. So we want to split this now up like that. All right, great. All right, great. I think we're getting there. I think we're getting there. All right. So this is going to be my little graph leaf. Ignore this little bad thing right here. Now, right at the corner here, I'm going to put a 0 because we're going to get the scale in. If you didn't write down the information, you are going to be lost like everybody else. Then I'm going to go up by 100. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. I think I could probably stop there. All right, because it says that we are going up to 700. All right. There are other ways that we could do it. There are other ways. This is not the only way. Being that 700 is an outlier, we could use one of these symbols. We could use one of these symbols, having gotten to, so this is just one way of looking at it. Having gotten to 120, we could break and then start back to capture 710. So what we would do, we will break and say that there is missing data between 120 and then we get back up to 710. That is one way of doing it. So I wish I had graph leaf or I had a projection I could show you both. We could use that missing data stuff. But let me see how best this will fit on the thing. This might give us a little problem because 100 halfway is going to be 50. So we could say 50 is right there. And then we have to look at the country. So this is one way that we could do it. We could use the scale to see if the scale work. All right, and then we could plot. I'm going to show you another way that we could do it. We could draw it like that, and then we could go up, and we could put in 0, and then we could probably go by, if we go by 120, that would have been 12. So that's going to be even harder. What if we go by 20? If we go by 20, 5 twos would be 100. And we need to go to 120. So that would have been 6, and then we break and go forward. So if we go by 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, and then we get into 120, we are going to break like this, and then we probably could start back at, we're going to start back now at 720. All right, because we're going up by 20. So this is another way that we could have done it. I hope that you're understanding. I feel like you're losing it. All right. So we have information. We could do it this way as well. All right. So what we did, we started at 0, and we started counting up. This is probably a little more accurate in finding the 12 and the 15. We could find 12 and 15 probably somewhere here. So we have 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. The graph is now broken because there's missing data. And then here we start back at 720. So we know that 710 is somewhere between this line here and this 710 is somewhere there. And we're going to look at the scale here to start back at 720. But this line coming across right here is showing that there's missing data. So what we did, we number up to 120, stop the graph, break the line to show that there's missing data, and then we continued at 720. Anybody understand that? Yes, no, tell me. I use almost all the paper, and I showed you 2 ways. Now, which way would I have used if I were in your position? I'd use the second way. Why I'd use the second way? I'd get way more accurate reading if I'm using this way that I had broken this area. All right, so if you look, just let me show you. I'd use this to plot the graph. I'd use that to plot the graph, and then I'd start back at 720 up there. So this line here shows that there's missing data. The graph has been broken, so I'd start right there. Confused? All right, great. I'm happy that you're confused. So what we're going to do for those persons who are confused, I'm going to ask you to carry a graph leaf to the next class. And when you carry that graph leaf to the next class, carry more than one graph leaf. I'm going to take some time to work that question again with you. So let us just forego that question for now, so that at that time when you have the resource and you can see the data on the paper, it might help you a little more. Let me just hurry on to the other question. I will consider this question incomplete. I will get back to the graph because everyone should say, okay, I understand now, sir. If you are not saying that, then it means that the work is not finished. All right, so let me just see if we have some question here to answer that we can just answer very quickly and go. All right, very quickly, answer this question. Which country has the highest number of persons living with HIV/AIDS? That information you can get from your table that I gave you earlier. Which country? Type it in the chat for me, quickly. Which country has the highest number of persons living with HIV/AIDS? You have to pull up. Vaughn is still here. Vasu is still here. Excretion. January 2014, question 3. All right, so we will look at that. Vasu is saying that I'm good. The paper 2 excretion question most likely will be on kidney and dialysis, similar to January 2014. I was thinking that we were going 2015, Vaughn, but we might have to look at 2015, 2014, and 2016. I think those 3 years we'll probably have to pay attention to those. Vasu. All right, great. So where are we now? What did I ask? The last question, let me see now. Yes, Haiti is that country. Okay, great. We need to talk because we need to plot this exam to see if we can get these guys coming out with ones. But we'll talk in the email around there. All right, so the graph leaves, you need to have the graph leaves for the next class because by then I would be doing the population pyramid with you that is in the back of the syllabus. And I will be doing this graph again, and I'll be doing more graph questions with you. You need to stop running away from graphs, man. You're running away because you're not getting enough practice, but that's fine. I'll work with you. All right, so Haiti is that country. Next question. The next question is going to be, which country has the lowest number of death due to AIDS? Lowest number of death due to AIDS. Lowest number of death due to AIDS. Now remember, you can turn to the table to get this information. So when you go to the exam, while the graph is 3 marks, do not skip the entire question if you're not going to do the graph. Do what you can do. The next thing, even if you don't know how to do the graph, draw the axis, name the axis, give the graph a name, and come back to it later, if you can come back to it. You might score 1 mark just for that. All right? So Barbados it is, with only 12 deaths. Very good. All right, so the next question is going to be, our next question is going to be, I think this is a little tricky. The Bahamas and Cuba have almost similar numbers of persons living with HIV and AIDS. However, Cuba has 15 deaths, while the Bahamas has 50 deaths due to AIDS. So just one reason why Cuba has less death than the Bahamas. Now listen, this says suggest, and you must pay attention to suggestion. Now when you are paying attention, if you are using the map, it's an Excel spreadsheet that I sent you. Yes, you did. With the papers, all the questions are sorted by topics. Great. I know I have it. Thank you much. I know I have it. All right. Great. So you don't need to know anything about Cuba. You don't need to know anything about Bahamas. You don't need to know about any other countries. They could say country X and country Y, country P, country Q. All you need to know here are some of the factors that would cause AIDS to spread fast here versus AIDS not to spread fast there. That's all you need to know. And when we started out, I started out with three things, three driving factor that could be responsible for this bloom of sexual transmission or sexual transmitted disease in the Caribbean. Remember what we spoke about? We spoke about morals. We spoke about the advent of contraceptive pills. And what was the other one? Anybody remember? Three things we spoke about when we started the show that could be responsible for the bloom of sexual transmitted disease in the Caribbean. Our moral standards, so we just ad lib ad hoc. And contraceptive pill, or I can get a morning after. So and follow up with their health. This is a plausible reason. Yes, that's a plausible reason. Persons in Cuba, they might be taking the medication, they might be following up. All this is possible. And I like the idea of using might because it is a suggestion. But the thing about your suggestion is that your suggestion must be plausible. So what is it that caused, let me just get back to the question and give you some talk on that. All right, so it says Bahamas and Cuba has almost similar number of persons living with AIDS. They have the same, almost the same number, right? I think it's 600, 700, something like that. I don't remember. However, Cuba has 15 deaths, while Bahamas are 50. Now, it could be as a result of their healthcare system. It could be as a result of their moral standard. It could be as a result of many things. You are supposed to now think about what are the driving factors that causes AIDS and could also cause the death of a person who is living with AIDS. That is all that you need to be armed with to answer this question. You might have a perfect healthcare system, but if persons don't believe and persons are not taking the medication, then of course they are going to die just the same. So think about that. Arm yourself with the knowledge. I think I have one more question and then that's it. That's going to be it for today. The economy of some countries depend heavily on tourism. So just one effect that a high incidence of AIDS would have on these countries. So economy of some countries depend heavily on tourism. So just one effect that high incidence of AIDS would have on these countries. All right, so we're talking about a health concern there. When a person becomes sick, how does it affect anywhere? When a person becomes sick, how does it affect anywhere? Now, while they are skewing about tourism and AIDS, I don't see that this is asking about tourists. I think it's asking about illness. Vasu, you can tell me. The economy of some Caribbean countries depend heavily on tourism. So just one effect that high incidence of AIDS would have on these countries. All right, so if you could put farming, you don't have to use tourism. You could put carpentry, you could put teaching, you could put anywhere, anything there. I don't see where tourism is necessarily important in that question. You could put any job. So if you have high incidence of AIDS in your country, any country, whatever country it is, whatever the career, whatever is the driving thing in your country, If persons are having AIDS and persons are falling ill and persons are dying, I don't see the question talking about prostitution. All right, so Cuba indeed has a good healthcare system. I think Cuba was the first in the world to deliver a baby from a person, a C-section baby from a person uh, with AIDS, right? But we wouldn't have had the answer. We wouldn't have known about Cuba and its healthcare. So it's going to be a suggestion. So having a good healthcare system and persons believing in the healthcare system is a plausible and good answer to use. But of course, there are other answers, but that's, of course, a good answer. Now, the last thing that we're going to be looking at, and everybody is going home now because it's getting late, it's time for work tomorrow, is that anything, once you get sick, once you have AIDS, whatever disease it is, we can't really stereotype. Once you start falling ill, then it's going to affect any business. We're going to leave it here for this evening. It was my pleasure to be here. Basu, I'm very happy to see you. Thanks that you're back. I'm going to need your help going through the rest of classes to prepare these students from across the Caribbean for the CXC. We know that the CXC would have been pushed back and we see a new broad topic sent out for some subject and all of that. But of course, I'm sure that we should be getting through and we should be fine. So I am very happy that you're here with me. We should be able to take this and give these students a good chance. Remind me again, Vasu, you're from which other island again? Visitors might be afraid. Yeah, that's a good thing. Trinidad, great. All right, so all my Trinidadian friends, my Guyanese. So that Vasu is another teacher here, another biology teacher, and my friend, my close friend, yes, would of course assist us with getting ready for you guys. So I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to have Vasu. I'm very happy to have everyone. I continue to be here. I didn't see Tanisha this evening. I see Otisha. Everybody is here. Most persons were here earlier. I'm very, very happy to have you as usual. Overwhelmed it is as we make our way out. Tomorrow's work for me. I will remind us, if you never get to the top of the mountain, show someone the way. Until Wednesday, tomorrow we're going to be releasing another question. We will look at the question that Vasu suggested, and we might release that question tomorrow. As we are trying to release at least one or two questions per day. We're trying as much as possible to do that. All right. See you on Monday or Tuesday when we are going to be looking at hepatitis. So we're going to have an extra class, a shorter class. We're going to be having hepatitis. So we're going to be doing hepatitis. And then come Wednesday, we are going to be looking at water pollution. So we are going to be jumping over land pollution, jumping over air pollution. Though, Vasu, what do you think about the chances of having air pollution on the exam with St. Vincent having the volcano? You think it's plausible? We had Corona on the paper for January. You think we should be looking for some air pollution? What are your thoughts? All right, so we are trying to get exam ready. See how best we can try and figure out CXC. We don't know we can, but we'll try. I also think that there's a possibility. I was thinking that question may be on water pollution or pit latrine. Water pollution or pit latrine. Did we have any volcano? We didn't have any earthquake over there. I think I like pit latrine though, because I think I saw pit latrine, I think probably in 2018 and 2017, both papers. I saw one on volcano. Which paper had volcano? All right, great. All right, just let us know and let us see if we can just try and guess out those questions, those things. But I think I like volcano and air pollution, or volcano and air pollution with respiration. We could look at respiration and carbon monoxide poisoning. We could look at that. We could look at carbon monoxide as an air pollutant. We could look at all of those things. So those things are possible. I think we could be seeing something on respiration, something on air pollution. I don't know. I'm looking somewhere there, but I'm guided by you. And of course, we should be able to pull it off. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Like I said, I'll see you tomorrow or Tuesday for hepatitis. And then on Wednesday, we are going to be doing pollution. We did pollution already, so it's not as skewed now towards HSP. We're going to be jumping over land and air pollution. We're going to be looking at water pollution first, and then we're going to go back to land and air pollution. After which, we are going to be looking at the next week, we're going to be looking at, I think we're going to be looking at biotechnology, right? And that is where I'm going to take some time to look at genetics again for those persons. For those persons who have not done the various genetic diagrams, we have done all the diagrams for CXC. You could just go to my channel and look for genetics, click on that, and you'll see everything there, and you should be fine. All right? So have yourselves a wonderful evening until we next meet. Thanks much for joining. Bye bye. Vasu will talk.